Okay, so welcome to the fourth session of fourth week, and now we have discussed about the methods of learning. That there are various methods: on the job training, lecture or classroom presentations, experiential learning, okay, or e-learning. So, there are various methods that could be applied in a training context to deliver better results. So, once you have been able to select the methods, the next task that you are going to do is you are going to implement them. Okay. It means that you are going to deliver the training using an appropriate method. So, once the training is delivered, the next stage is or the fourth stage in the process is that you are going to evaluate the training, right. So, when it comes to evaluating a training program, you have to know that how well the training program has performed and what is the process of evaluation. So, in this session we are going to discuss about how to evaluate a training program that has been conducted. Now, if you have been done effectively at first three stages in terms of assessment, design, development and delivery, then you expect better results from the training. It means that people are able to learn effectively and then they will be able to apply it on the job to perform better. And if that happens, it means your training program is effective, right. So, what we are going to discuss now here is that how we go about evaluating the training program or any kind of HRD program, right. So, when it comes to evaluation of the HRD program, you have to say that what kind of evaluation you are going to have. Okay. There are basically two kind of evaluation that takes place. One is known as formative evaluation and the other one is known as summative evaluation. So, what formative evaluation is? It means that since you have gone through the different processes starting with identifying the needs, designing and develop training program, delivery, right. So, you have to see that whether each of these steps have been effective on their own or not. That is what we call formative evaluation. So, you are going to see whether the instructional methods, materials, objectives which have been there to develop certain solutions for the employees, so that their needs are satisfied has been met or not, right. It means whether you have been able to meet the objectives of the training in terms of whether it has fulfilled the needs and expectations of the people, okay. Whether the quality of the instructional material, method of the delivery is proper or not, whether you have been able to properly design and develop a training program or not. So, if that happens, it means that you have at least made sure that your training program is good, but whether the transfer takes place or not, that is more important. So, that is what we know as summative evaluation. Okay. So, in summative evaluation you want to see the impact of the training on the performance. At the formative evaluation, basically what we are going to test or check is whether the training program was good or not in terms of its design, delivery and other things, right. In summative evaluation, you want to see the impact on the performance. So, if any kind of HRD activities that takes place, if it is not going to translate into the performance, then there is no point doing it, right. So, the idea is that whether you are training the right people and that you come to know through need identification, right step means what is your design and development program in the right way and the right material, that is your methodology and development part and at the right time, right. So, this is related to what you call formative evaluation, and summative evaluation you basically are interested to see the impact of the HRD program on the performance of the people, and that happens only when whatever people have learned in a training program or any kind of HRD intervention, whether they are able to transfer it on the job or not successfully, right. So, the evaluation is done at different levels, right, at formative level and also at the summative level. Now, after understanding this, that is can be done at the formative and summative level, we have to see that why we need to evaluate. And if you look at many organizations, though they do conduct training, but they do not go for evaluation of training programs. Okay. they think that it is the responsibility to train the people. Now, it is the responsibility of the people to ensure that they are going to transfer their learning on the job, right. So, if you have conducted these 3 stages earlier in a proper way, it is very important that you also evaluate to see the impact on whether it, in terms of formative evaluation or also what you call summative evaluation. The idea for HRD evaluation is that since it is we are going to invest a lot of money and resources, okay, it is not only money as a resource, but you are going to spend time and other things while going to conduct a training program. You need to see that in what way it is going to translate into better performance, resulting in better revenue for the organization, right. So, any HRD activity should not be considered as a cost center or revenue user, but it must be treated as a profit center or what you call a revenue contributor. If HRD activities are not able to improve the performance of the people, thereby resulting better improvement in the performance of the organization, you become a cost center. So, the idea is that you have to move from cost center to a profit center, and if you are not able to move, then what happens? That some commitment and support from the top management may not be there for you for this kind of program next time. And as a HRD professional, you also lose your credibility, and you will not be able to convince the top management and able to justify the cost of conducting any training program in the future. So, the idea is that you make sure that it has an impact on the bottom line and the performance of the organization, and that is how you become a profit center, not a cost center. Okay. And that is what I have been talking about, that yes, you need to be credible to line managers and top management to ensure further commitment, so that they are convinced the use of HRD activities, right. And then you need to make it visible to everybody. See, this is how the HRD department has trained people or made them competent to take up different activities, to take up the different challenges of the organization, and if it is visible and line managers or senior managers are concerned, probably they would understand the benefit of the HRD in real terms, right. And that is how we are going to show the value of human resource development activity to the organization. And that is why you need to examine or measure the impact of HRD activity in monetary terms and sometimes when in non-monetary terms also. And in order to evaluate, you can use certain metrics in terms of efficiency, HRD efficiency, whether with the result of the HRD training, what kind of changes has taken place in the attitude, behavior, performance and these kind of things. So, use a number of metrics, for example, whether attendance turnover has gone down, whether the quality improvement is there, right, whether the cost reduction has been there or not. So, these are the different measures which you can directly relate it with HRD activities or training activities. Okay. So, there are a number of metrics that could be used to measure the efficiency of the HRD activities, and if you are using these measures, showing it to the top management, you would be able to convince them about its credibility, and it would be evident to them that yes, it is something that is being done by the HRD and which adds value to your profession, right. So, the idea is that you have to go for a evaluated approach. So, that ultimately you are able to show them that yes, this is how HRD has impacted the bottom line or performance of the organization, right. Okay. And then in that way you also become accountable for what you do, because you are spending a lot of money on these activities, and then you can compare yourself with other departments like marketing, production, finance, because these are the value added activities considered in the organization, okay, because they are doing something which helps in the revenue generation. So, if you want to be at par with these departments, then you also need to show the impact of the HRD activities on performance, that how HRD activities is going to help the organization to improve its behavior and performance, right. And that is why you need to go for evaluation. So, the basic purpose is, as I told you in terms of formative one, whether the program is meeting the intended objective or not. If it is not, it means the program is not good. Okay. Second, with the help of this you can also identify the strength and weaknesses of the program. You look at each of these stages and see what went wrong and what at which stage, so that when you are going to offer this kind of program next time, you are going to offer it in a better way, right, and that is the objective of the evaluation. So, you can identify the strength and weaknesses of the HRD program. You are going to analyze all the stages of that program and see where you went wrong, whether you are not able to identify the objectives, whether you are not able to identify the right conduct of the people, whether your delivery method was not appropriate. Okay. So, you can examine all these things and look at your strength and weaknesses to see that how you are going to improve it next time if you are going to offer the same kind of program. You can also examine it in terms of cost benefit. Okay, what is the cost of the training program and what is the benefit, right? And that is where you are going to quantitatively show to the management. So, look at the cost that we have incurred on conducting a training program or any HRD activity, and this is the benefit that you are going to arrive at it, right, and then tell who is going to benefit it from it, whether the individuals or the organization, right. Then moving to the next is that based on this you can also identify who is going to participate in future HRD activities. Since HRD activity is a cyclical process where you are going to continuously update and the knowledge and skill base of the people, you need to identify who is going to be next in the cycle, who is to be trained depending upon the requirement of the people. And this requirement of the people in terms of the knowledge and skill base changes because of the environment in which you are going to operate. So, depending upon the requirement of the environment, people need to update the knowledge and skill base, and that is where on a regular basis you are going to identify in the cyclical process who is going to be your future participants that need to be trained for future programs. Okay. And then you also get data from the market, from the other organizations, okay. And then that also helps you to establish a database about your training. Okay. The number of man days that is trained, how much money you have spent, how many people have been trained. So, all kind of information could be put into the database to showcase to the people, see these many people have been trained, these are the area that we have trained, these are the benefits that we have arrived, okay. That is how much we have spent, these are the benefits or these are the profits that we have made, right. So, this kind of information really helps to see that HRD come to the forefront and people are the top management is convinced about its credibility, and you can act as business partners to the top management in deciding about various other activities. Now, we will discuss some of the models that is used in evaluation, and the most popular model that is being used in evaluation is known as Kilpatrick model. And here he says that this evaluation takes place at 4 different levels. Okay. Okay. The first level is reactions, the second level is learning, the third level is behavior, and the fourth level is results. Okay. The first 2 level, it is more qualitative. Evaluation is more qualitative, but at the third and fourth level, it is going to be more and more quantitative. Now, if you look at these 2 arrows, one goes up and one goes down. What does it mean? If you look at the arrow at the left side, it goes up. What does it mean? It means you are increasing the level of difficulty in the measurement process, okay, and you are moving from a qualitative to a more quantitative approach to evaluation. Okay. Similarly, you also tell that the first 2 levels, okay, it is a short term measure, you are going to do it immediately after the training program is over, but the third and fourth takes place only after some time, because once a person learns certain things, he goes back to the job, he applies that, and then only the results come out, whether it is improving the behavior or the performance. So, the measurement level 3 and 4 takes place at a later level, right. So, if you look at the arrow on the right side, you can see that reaction is the first thing that you are going to measure, second you are going to measure the learning, third the behavior, and the fourth is performance. Okay. So, this talks about the immediacy of the measure which takes place, and learning and reactions takes place immediately. Behavior and performance measures takes place after a gap of maybe 6 months or 1 year. So, you give them enough time time to apply the knowledge on the job, and at the same time you also facilitate the process by providing them support, resources, so that they are able to apply their knowledge on the job. For example, say one person has learned something in a given program, but he does not get any opportunity on the job to use that particular knowledge in the job. He is continue to do the same thing, then the entire thing goes waste. Even if the program is very good, the programmer got good feedback, he is able to learn certain knowledge, but the organization does not provide any opportunity or allow him to allow these things to apply on the job. Okay. Then what will happen? It means that is not going to change his behavior and performance, and he will continue to do the same thing again, time and again, right. So, it is very important at the third and fourth stage, you are going to do it at a later stage, not immediately, and then you also facilitate this process by creating an environment, resource and support, that is very, very important. Okay. So, outcomes should be collected in an orderly manner, that is measure of reaction followed by measures of learning, then behavior and the result, that is how it happens. Now, you will find some trends which is very, very disturbing in the sense that most organizations do not evaluate at all 4 levels. You will find that sometimes immediately after the training program is over, you take the feedback and that is enough, but after that you do not do anything. Some organizations move to the second level, you ask, you go for assessment, you go for a test that whether you have learned something or not, but you are not interested to see whether they have applied this kind of knowledge and skill on the job or not. Okay. So, the idea is that you have to design a method of evaluation where you are going to see his performance before the training, pre-training and then also at the post-training after some time, and then you see whether there is a improvement in the performance or not. So, 3 and 4 basically focus on post-training, okay, after some time, okay, and you do not expect that if first is good then second is going to be good, right. Maybe the feedback is good, you have earned something, but it does not mean that it is going to be translated into performance and behavior, right. So, it is very, very important to ensure that at third and fourth stage you allow them to use these kind of things learning, and you also facilitate it through environment, resource and support. Only then you can expect some kind of progress or improvement at level 3 and level 4, right. So, this Kilpatrick model is quite often used for evaluation. The only problem is that not all the stages are taken up by the management in the organization, and there are certain other frameworks or models that is available for training. For example, there is a CIP model, okay, which is proposed by Galvin in 1983, and he suggested 4 different things that is to be looked into, that is context, the input, the process and the product. The context is why this training is being given, okay. Input is what is being delivered in terms of content, process is how it is being delivered, and the product is the outcome, what is the outcome of this training program. Okay. You will find that it is slightly different from the Kilpatrick model, because Kilpatrick model starts evaluation only after a training has been imparted or given, then only you go to get feedback from the employees about the training, right. Here you also evaluate the context, because evaluation of the context helps you to identify the right kind of people for training, okay. And then you see who is being trained, what kind of method is being used, and then what is the outcome. So, these 4 things are actually related to this CIP model. Then we have another model that from Brinkhoff model, this is known as Brinkhoff model, and he has 6 stages in the process. The first stage is known as goal setting, we are going to set the goals and objectives of a training program. Then based on that, logically you need to connect it with design and program, design and development part. It means that once you have set the goals, you are going to see that it is in congruence with the content. It means the content is going to meet the goals and objectives of the training program. Third stage, what you are going to do is that you are going to evaluate the outcome, whether the training program is effective or not. Okay. In terms of immediate outcomes, that could be in terms of reaction and learning. So, you get their feedback, you also go for assessment of their knowledge and skill base to, so you conduct a test to see whether they have learned something or not. Okay. Then uses outcomes. Uses outcome means that whether they are able to translate that on the job and improve their behavior and performance or not. And finally, you are going to look at the worth, impacts and worth. Impact and worth in terms of cost benefit. I mean, suppose you have spent lot of money, but the benefits are not in consonance with the cost, then it is not worth going for this kind of program, because the benefits is not as per expectations. Okay. So, you need to look at worth also, but this again is criticized because he has not he has overlooked certain formative evaluation process which was there in the CIP model. Now, if you look at these two frameworks, we proceed further with other frameworks or models, right, like Krieger, Ford and Salas. He talked about only outcomes, that is cognitive outcomes. Cognitive outcome means his knowledge, a skill, whether he has learned how to use that knowledge, and effective, whether he is going to apply it to improve his performance or not. So, this model you will find is closely related to what you call the Kilpatrick model, because he also talks about reaction, feedback, learning assessment, that is knowledge part, then behavior, whether he is able to apply it to improve his behavior and performance, and ultimately whether there is a change in the behavior or performance or not. So, if you look at these models that we have been talking about, the most popular one is related to Kilpatrick model, because it talks about measurement at different stages. Similarly, if you look at Holton model, it also talks about different categories of evaluation. Okay. What are the secondary influences? Okay. Not necessarily related to measuring the direct outcomes, but it talks about whether this training has helped in achieving certain other outcomes in terms of relationship, in terms of networking, right, in terms of forming associations, because maybe indirectly these kind of things are going to help the participants in the long run, right. Similarly, you also have motivational elements, whether people are really motivated, and this comes from only when you are able to identify the right kind of people for the training. Then the environment. Okay. Environment of training is very important, whether the training is taking place in a conducive environment, whether all the enablers act as a facilitator in terms of support, culture, leadership. These are the internal environment, and that is going to facilitate effective training. And then outcomes, what is the outcome of the training in terms of improving the behavior and the performance. Okay. And then at the end, you also identify the enabling elements. What are the factors which helped these people to improve their behavior and performance? Okay. That is post training. So, post training, whether the resource, environment and support is available, which enable people to apply their knowledge and skill on the job and translate into performance or not. So, now if you look at these models, you can see that most of these models more or less talk about evaluation at different levels. Okay. Now, apart from these models, what are the outcomes that is used in evaluation of a training program? Three type of evaluation that is used: reaction outcomes, and this reaction actually is collected immediately after the training program concludes. You know that when you are going to attend a training program, okay, then you give your feedback. Even as a student, you give your feedback, or as an industry participant, when you go to attend a training program, you give feedback about training program, about the different aspects of the training program, related to delivery, related to the trainer, related to his communication, related to the content, related to the design of the program. Okay. So, you give your reaction about various aspects of the training program. Then the second outcome that is related to learning or knowledge is cognitive outcomes. Okay. So, then you ask whether you have learned something or not, whether it is going to really help you to take certain decisions on the job, whether it is really helping you to perform your job in a better way or not. Okay. So, this is what you know as cognitive outcomes, and finally, you have skill based outcomes. Okay. Whether you have really learned certain skills in a training program, okay, which is going to help you to perform or improve your perform in a better way. So, you can use different kind of outcomes, and this is based on the analysis of what you can say different kind of training programs are the models that we have for evaluation, starting with Kirkpatrick, Holton and Krieger CIP models. So, if you look at these models, most of these models you will find that ultimately they fall in these three category of evaluations, right. Moving further, nowadays you go for evaluating in a more quantitative way, okay. And the most important way to do it is that you are going to evaluate based on how much you have invested and what is the benefit. So, this is what we know as a return on investment model, right. In a return on investment model, basically you calculate the various costs of conducting a training program or HRD activity, and then you also try to identify what are the likely benefits of the training program in the beginning, and then you match these costs and benefit and see whether the benefits exceeds cost or not. And that basically tells you whether it is worth for doing this program, and in that way even you will be able to convince your management about the credibility of the program, right. So, when you are talking about return on investment model, it is based on cost benefit analysis, right. So, you calculate different kind of costs, some of them are direct costs, some of them are indirect costs, right, and you also calculate the benefits. So, if you look at direct costs, what are the direct costs that is included in a training program, okay, because cost is the first part that you have to calculate, and then you also calculate the benefits. The cost you can calculate while conducting a training program, and the benefits could be calculated only when there is a change in the behavior and the performance of the people, right. So, when I am talking about the direct cost, it means the salaries and other benefits of the employees who are involved in training program, the investment that you have made in designing and developing a program, materials, okay, equipments, classrooms, travels. So, all costs that is associated and where you have really spent money, okay, is coming under direct costs. Now, when we are talking about indirect costs, though it may not be directly related, like you are spending certain times, okay, you are discussing it some people, or other things which cannot be quantified directly comes under indirect costs, right. And the benefits is the value that the company gains from the training program. So, if you calculate the costs and benefit, probably you would be in a position to find out in monetary terms how much benefit you have made by conducting this program, and that is how you are going to convince your credibility to the top management. Now, you have to see whether outcomes are appropriate or not. So, you need to identify certain criteria, okay, in terms of reliability, discrimination, practicability. So, the first criteria is relevance. Relevance in the sense whether training outcomes or the capabilities are really required by the people to perform well or not. Okay. So, you have to see that the kind of capabilities that is developed by the people, what is really relevant, and the extent to which it is affected by other external variables. Then you have deficiency. What is the deficiency? The failure to measure training outcomes, which were emphasized in the training program, right. So, that comes under relevance. Now, reliability. When you are going to measure something, you need to ensure that the measure is reliable, right. So, reliability basically talks about consistency, whether you are getting similar results over a period of time or not, then you can say that yes, the measure is reliable. And when you are going to apply it in context of training, so whether the measures that you have taken in terms of looking at the cost and benefit, okay, whether they are correct or not, and if you are using these measures, whether you are getting the same results over a period of time or not, right. And third one is discrimination, whether you will be able to discriminate between those who have performed well after the training and those who have not been able to perform well. So, you need to discriminate the extent to which training has been able to make a difference in the knowledge and skill base and also the performance, right. And finally, practicality. Practicality in the sense it is very important, because whether the person is able to apply that in order to perform well, that is one thing, but whether it is possible to measure it in a proper way or not. For example, if you are using a return on investment method, is it possible to collect data related to the benefits? Because improvement in the performance could be attributed to a number of other factors other than training, right. So, how do you know that this improvement in the performance is related to the training of the people, okay. And that is where it creates problem of practicality so far as measurement of this is concerned. Okay. Now, if you look at this program, any training program, objectives and impact on evaluation. So, basically you are going to measure it in reactions, learning, behavior and performance, but the objective is to ensure that the learning is translated into job. So, if transfer of training does not happen, it means you cannot expect behavior based or effective learning. Learning happens that you can measure through reactions and the learning. Okay. You can get feedback whether they like the program, whether the environment was good, whether the material was good, the trainer was good or not. Okay. And you can ask them take their feedback, but whether they are really able to transfer it or not, that can be measured only through when you are going to use effective measures or behavior related measures, right. Then you need to collect data for evaluation. So, data comes from different methods, interviews, questionnaires, you can directly observe the behavior change in the behavior, you can conduct tests or you can go for performance tests. Okay. So, there are a number of variety methods or you can use even a combination of these methods depending upon your requirement and objective to get data for evaluating performance. Okay. For example, suppose you are measuring reactions, so you can use questionnaire. Suppose you want to see whether there is change in the behavior, you can go for observations. Whether they have learned something or not, you can go for written tests. Whether you really want to see whether there is a change in the performance or not, then you go for simulations or other performance tests, and you can even take help of assessment centers to do this kind of job to see whether there is a change in the performance or not. Okay. Or you can look at the performance information data that is related to the people, and you can go for pre post differences to see that, right. So, you need to make sure that the data is reliable, okay, free from collection method, bias and error. You also make sure that data is valid. It means that you have measured what you are supposed to measure related to the evaluation, and finally, you make sure that it is practicable in terms of resources that you use to get the data, all right. And finally, we are going to see that different data types that we are going to use. We are going to use individual performance related data, we are going to use system wide performance data and also economic data. Economic data in terms of profits, okay, market share, position, ROI and these kind of things. In individual performance, we see his knowledge and skill base, his performance in terms of quality and quantity, attendance, records, attitude. System wise data, change in the process, quality, efficiency increases or not, whether customer satisfaction level has gone up or not. So, there could be a number of variety of measures that could be used to collect data, okay, and then you can use a combination of methodologies or data collection methods to get the data to see whether the pre post difference is there in the training program or not. Okay. So, these are the different kind of measures, okay, like post test only can be for the trainees, okay. And then if you look at the cost time strength, it is low. If you go for pre test and post test, definitely it is possible, because you have to look at the performance both pre test and post test. Then if you are going for post test only with comparison group, it means you are going to trainees and comparison group is there. Then you only go for post training, okay. The cost time strength is moderate. Similarly, if you are going for time series data, you want to see that gradually how the performance has gone up or down. Okay. So, you are going to collect data at different point of time. Okay. So, post training at several point of time you are going to collect data, which is moderate. But if you are going for collecting data at different point of time with different groups, probably the cost, time and strength is going to be different. Okay. That is all. Thank you very much.